Good day, everyone. My topic is all about the disadvantages of having an inclusive classroom. Hi, I'm Jofel Binondo from BSED Mathematics second year. An inclusive education is a platform that allows students with special educational needs or SEN to study alongside other students in standard classroom environment. So when we say special educational needs is when a child has a learning disorder or disability that makes learning more difficult for them than other children their age. Students with special educational needs will experience difficulties with schoolwork, communication, and or even their behavior. In an inclusive classroom or in an inclusive education, a student with a learning or physical disability will study alongside peers who do not face similar difficulties. It provides general education to all, regardless of who they are. It can seem beneficial and great, which it is, but whether you like it or not, it has its downfall or disadvantages. Because students with SEN who study in an inclusive environment may face obstacles like or including negative perceptions from conventional teachers or peers, bullying and inclusions by peers, and lack of support from their parents. A quote from Temple Grandin said that in special education, there's too much emphasis placed on the deficit and not enough on the strength. This quote implies that in special education, a stronger focus is put on the person's handicap and shortcomings, and as a result, the individual's ability to are overlooked. So, in other words, the handicap mentality is being promoted rather than focusing on a person's talents and strength. So let's continue to the disadvantages. So our first disadvantage is having economical concern. Children with disabilities often requires adults in the classroom because they have more needs than a typical students. Of course, we must still need to meet his or her needs, so it is most preferable to have two or more staff in the classroom with a student with a special need or with SAS. During tough economic times, when cutbacks in government budgets are hitting the educational and other sectors hard, the monies for this extra staffing may not be there. One of the reasons for economic concerns is this. More staff means additional budget, and it's a problem that it won't be there because the budget, particularly in public schools, is very limited. It may be very well outside of the budget to hire paraprofessionals trained to attend to these children's toileting, behavioral, and or even the learning needs. Many times, children with disabilities need special equipment. To support children with special needs, schools must provide specialized tools and equipment or provide a resource room that is equipped with all of these appropriate aids and resources for teaching and studying special needs children, which of course require another additional funding. For example, in the case of a blind or severely visually impaired child, school districts may not be able to afford braillers or talking tapes that aid children in reading. The next disadvantage is the teaching training. Teacher trainings or lack thereof can be an issue. According to the article Integration of Disabled Students into the Modern Classroom from the University of Florida School of Music website, a teacher may lack the training to address problems that children with disability brings to the classroom. Today, more than ever, the need for teachers who are both knowledgeable and capable of teaching special education students is very important and very vital. Students with disabilities now spend the bulk of their days in inclusive education classroom rather than in the separate special education classes, thanks to the national effort and get them out of isolation. This suggests that more students with disabilities are being taught by inclusive education teachers. However, the problem here is that preparation system or training are failing to adequately prepare teachers to teach students with special needs. Inclusive classrooms are a wonderful concept, but they require a lot of training, patience, compassion on the part of the teachers. Fully inclusive classrooms have studied across the educational and developmental spectrum, ranging from typical developing students to severely and profoundly disabled students. For this reason, it becomes a challenge for the teacher to support all of this or both of these students in a balanced way. Some teachers have never worked in a special needs classroom, which can be very counterproductive. Disabled students need more adaptation and medical care than average students. Teachers must be capable of treating unique disabilities, developing lesson plans and strategies that are personalized to each student's ability. If the instructors does not have enough experience, the child's skill will continue to decline. Next is, or for the third disadvantage, is what they call teasing and ostracism. So when we say teasing, it is to fool, to make fun, to insult, to mock a person, and ostracism is to ignore or exclude the person. They are quite similar to bullying, or it must be, or it should be, or it can be a form of bullying. Children with physical, developmental, intellectual, emotional, and sensorial disabilities are more likely to be bullied than their peers. Any numbers of factors like physical vulnerability, social skill challenges, or even the intolerant environments may help increase their risk. Research suggests that some children with disabilities may bully others as well. Although many children are bullied at some points of their lives, children with disabilities tend to be more particularly vulnerable to repetitive harassment. According to research, they say that some children with disabilities can even torment others. Mainstream classroom may not be an appropriate fit for students with disabilities because the other children may not know how to deal with their differences. They may result to ridiculing or outright ostracism. As the University of the Florida article says, of the child whom they perceive is not like them. They may laugh because the children or the child has a speech or breathing impediment that is very audible when the teacher calls on the child to read. Students still have a lot to learn, yes. They are still things they don't understand, and they do not know how to cope up with others' differences. However, it is our responsibility, it is our job to teach them to appreciate and acknowledge their differences. So for the fourth and also the last disadvantage is what they call behavioral concern. Depending on the nature of a child's disability, it can affect the way the student behave. Children who display these actions can be perceived as troublemakers, causing their learning difficulties to go overlooked. Behavioral problems like self-injury, hyperactivity, aggression, stereotypies, anxiety, impulsive, mood swings, and defiance can disguise as learning disorders, and this can be frustrating not just for the instructor but also for those people, for those students that inside the vicinity of the learning facility. According to the IREC article, that pupils misbehave and disrespect can be so tense that, or can be so intense that it disrupts the learning environment. It can also be frustrating for the teachers attempting to teach in such an environment. As a result of the adults having no control of the child's behavior, mainstream population children can lose out on valuable classroom time. Students with behavioral problems disrupt the classroom flow, affecting not just their own but also their peers' learning. If the behaviors are aggressive or destructive, it has a chance that it will make students feel unsafe. It will also cause other students to want to miss school or class depending on how serious the behavior is, making this also a concern of having an inclusive classroom. So these are the four disadvantages. So first, we have economical concern. The second, we have teacher training. The third one, we have teasing and ostracism. And for the fourth one and the last one is called the behavioral concerns. So wrapping this all up, this will end my discussion. Thank you.